Hey, everybody, welcome to Twisted Tragedies, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am your host, Elise, and happy, really, really freaking hot Sunday. Sorry, guys, I'm getting a message. I'm just checking it. No, I will not be around on Sunday. Sorry. Happy Monday, everyone. So it is a scorcher. I don't know how hot it is where you guys are, but it is over close to 100 today here, and we get the stickiness. It's very, very humid and sticky and uncomfortable. So this room was like a sauna earlier. I have the fan going so that I don't overheat, and a couple other things so that I don't overheat. Yeah, the humidity, it's going to be 102 here tomorrow, and we're not used to having that kind of heat. 102 is something I don't think we've seen in a long time. We get 97, 98, 99, but 102, begrudgingly. The answer is begrudgingly, Jesse. If I happen to have a good show where I make like, $200, that's the first thing I would do is buy an air conditioner. You know what I mean? Like that's the first thing I'm doing. But that also requires that happening. So, right? I mean, come on, you're killing us here, Mother Nature. I would appreciate if you would go the F away, or at least not be as sticky, Also, for those of you that live in Connecticut, I have some questions for you. I have some questions for those of you that live in Connecticut or near Connecticut, for this weekend, this upcoming weekend. 66, I could totally deal with that. That would be beautiful. That would be like a nice breeze. The only thing breezing over here is the fan breezing the window. It's breezing I don't even think I can stop that from happening either. It's going to drive me absolutely bonkers. Nope. Nothing heavy enough to stop it. How about my juice? My juice to stop it. Okay, perfect. There we go. Get watermelon juice to keep me cool. And my soda. I know. I wish it was 66. I wish. I really wish. That would be nice. I could deal with 66. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Jesse's AC blew today. Poor thing. Believe me, I feel your pain, my friend. I feel your pain. We're all like in sardines in one room where the one AC is. There's those little sardines. I mean, comfortable sardines, but sardines, so we can all get the one AC we have is like working extra super duper overtime right now. I'll tell you that much. It's definitely not doing as much as it has been. No, she's been seen out in public, but still at the hotel as far as I know. So nothing super exciting for sure. So, we have quite a few other cases that are coming up, cases that we'll be covering. And Mr. Bradel, the Sewer Turtles attorney, has been dealing with the BBO. I did not know one of his hearings was today. I knew about, I think it was Friday or Tuesday, but not today. So I guess he had some hearings today with the BBO. He'll have to explain away his lying ass from lying to the BBO and hiding things when he was a prosecutor and lying about it. So that's what the Sewer Turtles attorney is dealing with, as he should. I wish I could say that I had like a large faith in the BBO to actually do their job, and do something about these really over the line unethical attorneys. But as we all know, that doesn't always happen, unfortunately. Oh God, it is brutal here too, my friend. It is brutal here too. Very brutal. I guess I'm glistening at the moment. It's hot. It's really hot. I am just straight glistening. But I trying to keep it cool with the fan here. Turn it a little bit towards me more. All right, there we go. Oof. So I was gonna do it this morning, and I was like, no, I had already I was doing my housework, I was doing some dishes, having a little dance party with the kids in the kitchen, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll make it 12:30, but then it got so hot, I was like, nope, That's not going to work. Gonna have to bump it. So tomorrow morning, I'm moving back to 9:30 because if I just get it done before the heat, then I might be okay. I might be okay. But like I said, we have quite a few other cases that are coming soon. The Coberger one being one of them. That's one that I followed from the beginning. And there's a lot going on in that one. And there's so much that's unknown in that one because, there was a gag order. So there are things that are creeping out in the Coberger case that we didn't know before, right? But I think there is some stuff that I think we should go over. How did so many people miss so many red flags on Bryan Kohberger? And there were red flags, right? There were red flags. So I looked into some stuff. So imagine this, right? A man obsessed with the inner workings of the criminal mind, right? He applies for an internship. That's what he does. Now, we know he was in criminology, right? That was his thing, criminology. You guys know about the Reddit post, right? It is wild. It is wild, my friend. And for anybody who hasn't followed this case, I think most of us, show of hands, chat, how many of you know about this case, the Idaho4 BryanKohberger case? How many of you have done any research on this? I want to see how many of you are super duper knowing about this case. I know some of you have delved a little into it. Shannon did. Good. Francesca did. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Scorpio. All right. So yeah. So a lot of you know. So this case for me was really sad because it was, 4 young kids, and I have a daughter age 20, right? Right. Me too. Since the day it happened, it was just so strange to me. Right. So I actually did some deep diving, and I actually wrote down a lot of the stuff that I wanted to talk about today, right? So go back. Imagine this. A man obsessed with the inner workings of like the criminal mind, okay? He applies for an internship in his local police department, okay? In his local PD. In his application essay, he writes about his passion for helping rural law enforcement analyze technological data. But at the very same time, this man, who is a PhD student in criminology, aka Bryan Kohberger, okay, is allegedly turning off his phone to hide his location while he surveils a house full of college kids. Crazy? Yes. Just a few miles away, mind you, okay? It's not a movie plot. This is real life. But it sounds more like something you would hear in a Lifetime movie, no? Right? Like criminology student, you're learning about the criminal mind, you're obsessed with the criminal mind, but you want to know what it's like to commit a crime. But you don't just go and do like a petty burglary, right? You decide, man, I'm going to kill a college house full of kids. What now? What now? So this is kind of the real story of Bryan Kohberger and the trail of missed red flags and warning lights and smoke signals that no one saw. They were hiding right there in plain sight and nobody saw them. So we're going to go back, right? It's Moscow, Idaho. That's where this happened. Moscow, Idaho. All right. November 13th, 2022. Now, this is the same year that John O'Keefe died, 2022. See the video on X of the woman dancing, celebrating in front of the O'Keefe's house. No, but that's utterly disgusting. Yes. So they're supposed to do jury selection on the 30th of June. That's as far as what I know right now is jury selection would be the 30th of June, and then they would start August 7th, something like that. But what? I mean, what? Can you imagine doing something so awful? Why would you go in front of the O'Keefe's house? I mean, what kind of batshit, psychotic, crazy person do you have to be? I believe it was definitely premeditated, even if he just decided he was going to do it right then and there. Premeditated, you know? Yeah, I definitely think that he is guilty. I think they have more circumstantial evidence in this case than they had, you know, in Karen's case for sure. But you think he's innocent. I have no words. Didn't he message ID of the third floor girls? Sorry, we're going to again. No worries. We're going to go over some of this stuff, right? I mean, that's just sick. How do you go outside? Leave the O'Keefes alone. We sent them these beautiful yellow flowers that a bunch of us from a Facebook group chipped in on, and they're beautiful. And we sent them to Peg, and I'm glad they came out. They came out perfect. They're very bright and beautiful. Yeah, they have lost their minds. They actually have lost their ever-loving effing minds. I feel like I live in the twilight zone where I'm the only semi-normal human being that doesn't just say shit to say it at this point. I don't know. Help me out here, people. Am I the only, like, I don't understand. Why is this a thing? I barely go on my ex account, okay? Yes, exactly. They seem to forget that those children also see social media. They forget about that part too. Those children can see social media, which is why juror number 11 pissed me off so much, because the children can see you psycho. You want to make a statement? Cool, great. Make a statement. Then go away and leave them to grieve. It's insensitive as fuck. And then you're making jokes about it like it's funny. Making jokes about a man's death and the family that has to live with the circus that became their loved one's 2 trials. What the hell is wrong with you? Juror or not, that's unacceptable behavior for a grown-ass adult. Sorry, people don't like to hear it. Oh, well. I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I don't care if you were a juror and you did your civic duty. You decided to do a media tour and then announce yourself on social media. So any blowback you get from that is on you. The Alberts McCades didn't announce themselves on social media to be harassed into oblivion. That's a completely different thing. They were just innocent witnesses. They didn't do all that. This lady went on a social media and then a regular media tour. So any blowback she gets from that is on her. You know? Well, she'll never will, Anne. She never will. And why do you think that is? Same reason why the sewer turtle never will. Because he wants it. That's how he wields, at least what he thinks is power, which is using a mob of very impressionable people or easily led people to do his bidding. You know? I mean, that's just disgusting. Yeah, and that's another thing. I have law. As a juror, if you then run to Turtle Boy's stream, I'm sorry, but you're a deplorable human being. A deplorable human being. You have no morals, okay? You watch a absolute psychopathic, narcissistic human who couldn't tell the truth if you paid him to. The man has terminal diabetes, all right? No cure for it. Terminal narcissistic diabetes, okay? That's a thing. He has that, all right? No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So when you go and support someone like that, it makes me have to question your sanity. Whether you can make a critical thinking decision on your own, or whether you just think it's funny to disparage people until it's you. Because when it's you or your family, I don't think you're going to think it's so funny anymore. It's not comical anymore, right? It's not entertainment value at that point, right? Especially when you know that he made shit up to do it for his content. Good content creators don't need to make things up. They just don't, you know? Yeah, they're raising more money. They're raising more money. It's amazing to me. It is amazing. Yes, there was touch DNA on the knife sheath that he bought on Amazon from his account. There's also video footage of him in the area and then the DoorDash driver that pulled up beside him. So there's also that. I don't know who it was, but that's just deplorable and disgusting. Yeah, I mean, even if the kids weren't there, what the fuck is wrong with you? This woman has lost 2 of her adult children and a son-in-law. What did Peggy O'Keefe do to anybody except exist? Like what would make someone think like, oh, let me go do this. It'll be so funny. You want to know what makes them do it? I'll tell you what makes them do it. They record themselves. They bring it to Turtle Boy. They get a good old boy pat on the back. Good doggy. Good doobie. You do that. That's great. Ha, ha, ha. So funny. Let's show it to my audience. You're a great guy. You're cool. That's what they do it for. That's sad. If you're looking for that level of attention from a content creator, you need a effing life. Also, apparently, I'm going to throw this out there. Apparently, okay, he made some statements on his last show where people donated like $1. A bunch of people donated, a bunch of different people donated like $1 and were asking questions, and he freaked out. $1? I'm not reading questions for $1. You're all cheap. I'm sorry, what? I apologize. What? You sniveling little insecure, ungrateful little fuck. I don't give a shit if somebody sent you 50 cents. It's their hard-earned money. And maybe they can't afford to give you $5 or more. Okay? Maybe that's what they can afford to give, and they wanted to show their love, although I don't know why anyone would want to show love to that man. So they sent you what they could afford. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? They're taking money out of their pocket and giving it to you, and it's not enough for you? It's not enough for you. $1's not worth it. It's not enough. I'm sorry. The entitlement is insane to me. The lack of gratitude, or actually even giving a fuck about his audience, because let's make this abundantly clear to all the hate watchers currently watching. He does not care about any of you, and I cannot wait until his trial when you might get to see the messages where he disparages all of you and calls you stupid and fat and ugly and easily led, and you'll do whatever he wants whenever he wants, including giving him money whenever he says so. Just saying, don't say you weren't warned. You've been warned. You just put your fingers in your ears and go, la, la, la. He wouldn't do that. He would never do such a thing. Okay. Okay. Guess you'll learn the hard way. You know? Oh, we'll never know. We'll never know, Michael. And they'll just keep giving it to her like idiots. You know? Are you serious? Wow. Does that bank condone that? Is what I'd like to know. Yes, I'm going to go over some of that. Right? Me too. I will tell you this. I'll tell you that I have a very good feeling. Karen's case is over. So the cops don't have to worry about, maybe riling up her mob for his crimes. I mean, he knows it's down to minutes, seconds, hours, days before they probably arrest him again or charge him with some of the numerous crimes he has committed over the last 2 years and keeps committing. So I wouldn't be surprised they came and got his ass at some point. Sucked to be him right now. That's for sure. Here's an idea. Don't commit crimes. There's that. Don't blackmail people. Don't wiretap people. Don't threaten people. Don't use dog whistles. Those are all crimes. Those are crimes. Criminal acts, sir. Yeah. You might want to not do those if you don't want to get arrested and shit in your adult diaper daily. Just saying. You might want to peek out your window for those Silverados. They might be coming. Oh, man. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. It's apparently like the new cool thing to do, like bully people. Oh, yeah, he keeps talking. You want to know why? Because it's his thing. He doesn't know how to shut the F up. He has no impulse control. Lots of narcissists don't have impulse control. It's not a thing. You know what I mean? Oh my God, they didn't actually say that. People actually said this. People said Karen would be a good lawyer. That's fucking Delulu. That's next level Delulu. That's I can't. It's so disgusting. It is so, Alba, she just told me that. Brittany just told me, and I'm just I have no words. I have no words to why a grown ass adult would go in front of a dead police officer's family and children's house to victory dance. What the F is wrong with you? Karma's a bitch, right? And I have this real good feeling that karma may be coming to collect real soon. Real soon. Oh, absolutely. It's just super classy. I hope the bank just, encourages their employees to do such ridiculous things. I don't know. It's a good question. Has he? I don't know. I don't know. I have no patience for it either. That would be something. That would be effing amazing, though, Daniel. That would be amazing because it would just be like, hey, all that, quote, work you did harassing people landed you in prison. Let's make something very clear. Karen's not going to go help him on his behalf. She's not going to testify for him. She's not going to hang out with him and be like, oh, bestie, let me come to your court cases and help you out with this. She's not going to do any of that because A, it would be awfully effing stupid. She could get herself charged with an accessory. You're on your own, bub. You're on your own. Listen, I can very much handle myself. I can very much handle myself. They don't listen. I walk through the depths of hell when I walk through those hundreds of psychopathic people. I am not afraid, not by a single one of them. But here's the thing: when you're an abuse survivor, and I don't like to use the word victim, but survivor, not much scares you at that point, right? Especially being an abuse survivor. You've had your face punched in probably a billion times, maybe lost a few teeth, chipped teeth, whatnot. These kooks don't even come close to scaring me in any way, shape, or form. I get there and it looks like a Michael Jackson Thriller video. And I'm like, God help me. It's not Halloween. What the fuck is going on here? Oh, yeah. Well, the core 30 might, Alba, the core 30 might show up for him. That's about it, Oh, he'll keep digging and digging and digging and digging and digging and digging. He has to demand that people come down to the courthouse and support him. Get down here right now. The cameras didn't even go. It wasn't that important. Karen stuff was going on. So, he got Zoom instead. Oh, that's not an if. That's a when. If he thinks it's to save his own ass, he'll 100% do it. 100%. 100%. I think she asked for her own karma. That's on her. You want to publicly come out and make jokes like it's funny about doing media tours. That's so insensitive, even as a juror. Cool, jurors speak out, but they also don't do it like that. That was not only so insensitive, but ignorant. Purely ignorant. And if that's what we're working with, we have a serious issue. So yeah, I try to stay off X because it's a cesspool of hate and anger. There's some very angry people on X. Yeah, that's funny. Same way that she became a lawyer in Brazil, because she's not a lawyer here. And the equivalent of being a lawyer here and a lawyer there is very different. You can go to school for 2 years and boom, you're a lawyer in Brazil. Not the way it works here. It's not close to the equivalent. Well, I just feel like karma's coming. Just feel like it possibly could be coming at some point, X is very toxic. So, oh yeah, she's gonna throw them. Boop. Sorry, don't need you anymore. I agree. Cosgrove's a little old. He's a retired judge. But he still knows what he's doing, And I mean, there was that decision that basically told him you can't. The First Amendment ain't gonna work in arguments for this, bub. Dressed in blue. What is wrong with people? What is wrong? Me either, but I mean, again, not that worried about those people, I know, but maybe I'll just go for sentencing Maybe I'll do that. I can do the pool camera, you know. Well, if he goes to jail, he'll meet lots of people like that. Of course he was. Of course, it's amazing. It's amazing to me that people actually throw money at him. That's what's amazing to me. It's freaking amazing. A lot of these people that were lied about do it. Want to know why? Because they think that if they get in with him, then he won't attack them anymore. And that part of their life of being attacked by people are over. And maybe he'll take it down, or it won't matter anymore because they can say, oh, look, we're friends now. Because even she says he didn't do any research when he put the article out about her, and that it's a bunch of lies and bullshit, basically. So it's like, that's the person you support, is someone who doesn't do research and just puts out a bunch of lies. Oh, wait, you do that too. No wonder why you support each other. Amazing. Amazing. I don't take shit from anyone. I don't need an exit strategy. I get to walk in and out of a door. His exit strategy, on the other hand, might be a nail file behind the toilet. All right. Let me get got a little off topic here. A little off topic. All right. I'm going to go back to what I was trying to educate here. You guys are making me get off topic. All right. Trying to educate on the Coberger case. God damn it. Oh, I forgot to put the ticker up. That might help. That might help. I also think, by the way, our members only stream will be Thursday nights. I think I'll just dub them on Thursday nights, being like a Thursday night thing, by the way. I know I got off topic. I just didn't do this on the way in, though. If you guys haven't already hit the like button, I would appreciate that. If you hit the like button. I would also appreciate if you shared the video to people who don't know we exist. Maybe they want to follow the Idaho4 case. Maybe they need a place to follow said case. We are that place. If you would like to support the channel, there are one of a bunch of different ways to do so. These are the fastest, obviously. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut. And then we have the link that is pinned in chat. You can use debit or credit. We need your help. My streams solely rely on you guys and your generosity and your kindness to be able to keep this pushing and keep this moving. And I'll tell you, I looked at my bank account this morning and was like, oh, shit. Thanks, StreamYard and the internet, for coming out on the same day. Appreciate you both, a-holes. I'm not very happy with StreamYard. Oh, you poor thing. Go to sleep, Alba. Do the restream, my friend. Do the restream. We love you for coming in anyway. I know I was tired today too. I've been up since 5 a.m. I took a little nap earlier, but I had a doctor's appointment at 6 this morning. So I had to Uber over to my sister's, get her car, go to the appointment, which is 40 minutes away, and then come back. So yeah, that was a lot. So I've been up since the ass crack of dawn. Not that I don't usually wake up until a little after that anyway, about 6, but that's still early for me. 5 is early. That was early. I do not want to be awake at 5 a.m. I do not. All right. So back to the Coberger stuff. I promise you guys this case you're going to like. If you like true crime, this is a case you're going to like. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Moscow, Idaho. Okay. The morning was November 13th, 2022. Same year that John died. Just later on in the year. John died in January. This happened in November. Sadly, right before Christmas time. November 13th is about a week and a half before my birthday and about a week before my little's birthday. All my kids were born within a 3-week span of each other, even though they're years apart. So it's all around Christmas time, right before Christmas, and during Thanksgiving. Actually, last year my birthday was on Thanksgiving. It was miserable because you can't celebrate your birthday when it's Thanksgiving. So you just kind of are like, meh, this sucks. So yeah, that sucked. Thankfully, this year it will not be on Thanksgiving, but it's like every 4 years unless a leap year hits. Yeah, apparently it's like February, March-ish, I guess. That's apparently my time of year. Steer clear of that, folks. All right. So November 13th, 2022, early morning hours, horrific, right? 4 University of Idaho students. I know lots of things. I know something. 4 University of Idaho students, Madison Mogan, Xana Carnoodle, Ethan Chapin, and Kaylee Goncalves were found in the house, obviously brutally murdered. Okay. Sad part is that it took so long for police to be called there, right? We don't know exactly why there were surviving roommates that were downstairs. I'm suspecting that he got in and got out, didn't go all the way downstairs, and that's why. But nonetheless, Kaylee and Madison were in the same room, and Kaylee's mom and dad describe it as there's nowhere else to go, right? There's nowhere else. That room basically fit like a bed. That was it. So there's 3 walls and the doorway. There was nowhere to go. They couldn't have ran around the bed or like nowhere at all. They were trapped in that room, unfortunately. Yeah, but this is what innocence fraud, my friends, people. It's salacious. It sells. Now imagine if I get up here and I was like, Bryan Kohberger is innocent, everyone. He's innocent. Okay. And I did like that whole innocence fraud campaign. How much do you want to bet that my stream would light up with super chats, super stickers, my PayPal and my Cash App and my Venmo would just be lighting up, light up. Oh, you're so smart. You found the conspiracy. We know he's innocent. Bro. No. Yeah, that's the sad part. You could see the blood down the front of the house. That was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. It is hard to move on to another. I'm not going to lie. And we're not, of course, letting this go by any means. There are a lot of things to go with John's case. We have civil suits. There's still criminal matters to deal with when it comes to the sewer turtle. So by no means are we leaving that case at all. We are just starting to cover something else. And whether it's the BBO, whether it's the civil, whether it's the criminal stuff, we'll be covering all of it. All of it. We will cover all of it. So yeah, maybe that's what it was, Xana's room. It was a small room. They were trapped. There was nowhere for them to go. Literally nowhere for them to go. Okay. So they're found murdered, of course, in their off-campus housing that they rented. If I had lived in that community, I definitely would have been afraid, right? You don't know what happened, who did it, and for a month, maybe that's exactly what happened, That's a good theory that maybe Xana walked in. She did just get her DoorDash right before 4 a.m. with the DoorDash driver. So it's a very real possibility that maybe Xana or her boyfriend walked in on what was happening in Kaylee and Madison. And that's why he left the sheath. Something made him leave that sheath, right? Something. So, so for almost like 7 weeks, no one knew who had done it. So who did it? Killer was just ghost, nowhere to be found. Then an arrest was made 2,500 miles away in Pennsylvania at his parents' house. The suspect was who? 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger, a doctoral student studying criminology at nearby Washington State University. Okay. So sad because now I think twice about people who are into like criminology. And I want to know what makes the mind tick of someone like that. Like, how sick do you have to be in the head to want to maim, kill, murder, or hurt people? Like the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, that case, it makes my bones shiver. Because that interview that he did that sticks in my mind forever, where he's just like, I'm a horrible person and I will kill again, or I would kill again if I was let out. Like, what makes you that sick? Like, what the hell? What? So, you know, a man who spent his life studying what makes killers tick was now accused of being one. I mean, you couldn't make that into a movie. You know what I mean? That's something that I feel like, how do you, that's not even something you could write. It's just, it's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. But it's, irony. Studying criminology and then being the killer. Crazy to me. Yeah, he had a lot of books on serial killers. I mean, to be fair, I have some books as well that other people wrote, obviously. But it's along the lines of criminology, because I like to see what the psychologists say about these people. Like what are their thoughts on, is there something wrong with their brain? A lot of the times they say that early in age, they've tried to make a correlation between like playing football and hitting your head, concussions, things of that nature, CTE, and other injuries, and then your brain chemistry changing to something like that, Crazy. I mean, why would you be obsessed with Ted Bundy, of all people on planet Earth? Ted Bundy was a psychopath. A psychopath. An absolute freaking psychopath. But, it is what it is. Now, of course, if you live in this community, you're terrified, right? You don't know what the hell is going on at all. But as the investigators started digging into Coberger and his past, there was a deeply disturbing picture that began to emerge of this man. Okay. Now, this wasn't something that happened overnight, guys. He wasn't made a killer overnight, right? That takes time before they make their first kill. These people some of them kill animals, some of them, do stuff like that. It's definitely a fascination of what makes these people tick. I mean, a lot of it does have to do with some early abuse trauma, but some of them were essentially semi-normal before they went on these killing sprees, I mean, those girls were my daughter's age. That's what really shook me, I think. Is they're my kids' age, It's really, really sad. Yeah, it was, a long road littered with pretty much overlooked clues and a psychopath named Bryan Kohberger, and his bizarre behaviors that were, told by other people about him later on, especially women. They got the irky vibe from him, the weird irky vibe, That's not just sign something is off. Those are blaring alarms, screaming in your head like, hey, something's not right here. That's your inner self being like, stop, danger, danger, danger. It might not come across that way in your head, but that feeling that you get like in the pit of your stomach. Oh God, that one. Yeah, that one is what makes nightmares feel for sure. That one is awful, I mean, the problem is you always want to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? So even if someone's a little weird or a little strange, you're like, hey, I might be a little weird, I'm being a little strange, it doesn't mean they're a killer, right? But so many things were missed when it comes to him and other killers as well, So weird, some of the things these people do. It's amazing. So you have to start where Bryan Kohberger felt most comfortable, which was in the classroom. That's where he was the most comfortable. It was in criminology classes, right? And dealing with this stuff. So on paper, his academic journey looked pretty good. It was pretty impressive to the naked eye. You'd be like, okay, this guy did this school, went on, did a lot of education. You would have thought he was sort of on the right path, to doing something with his life ultimately. Okay. So, hey, he got an associate's degree, then a bachelor's in psychology, and finally a master's in criminal justice from DeSales University. I mean, by all accounts, he was dedicated, maybe even obsessive, as we know now, obviously. His only focus was the criminal mind. That was it. He was completely fascinated by what makes people commit crimes and their thoughts and ideas on how, when, where, and why, what their motives are, why they pick that victim or place, when did they pick that victim or place, all those things. He even put up a Reddit post at one point, you know? Yeah, I saw that they were saying he couldn't get the death penalty because he's on the autism spectrum. No, he was not invited in. As far as we know, he was never invited into that house, you know? So according to the stuff that I read and sort of delved into a while back, it said that this wasn't just some passive interest of his, what the criminology stuff. It was an active, hands-on pursuit. While at DeSales, he studied under the famous forensic psychologist Catherine Ramsland. And she was an expert who's well known for interviewing the BTK killer, which is another insane person, you know? I do know about the Papa Roger accounts. They're alleged, but they're creepy as F. And if they could have linked him to those, I mean, I remember when those came out, like I was reading them as they were come, and I'm like, people were like, that's him. And we're like, and I was in that Facebook group and I'm like, I don't know. It definitely could be. If they could connect him to those, you know, hey. Yeah, I mean, he just looks creepy too. Not somebody that I'd be like, hey, come on in, bub. Just come on in. As a college kid, as an adult, like I'm more of a people person where I'm like, oh, hey, the more the merrier, whatever. But I mean, it was an account, it was a name that he used, well, allegedly used on social media, Facebook. I was in a Facebook group where that name, and then it disappeared afterwards, but had been asking and saying some really weird and strange things that no one would have known. It was chilling, you know. I did see John Jackson go off on Vinny. It was glorious. It was absolutely friggin' fantastic. And I know he didn't mean to and he didn't want to, but you know, it was brilliant. He called him out and that's what he should do. So anyway, he studied under the famous forensic psychologist who had done the interviewing of the BTK killer, right? Dennis Rader. So he even started his own research project, and this is the stuff on Reddit, right? To get answers from ex-convicts. Why did you pick this victim or place to commit your crime? When, where, why? Then he wanted to know what's your motive, feelings during it, after, before, all of those things. Really more sounds like he wanted to know what it should feel like or what it would feel like before he did it. Looking back on it now, to be fair. And then the questions were like super direct. Why did you choose that victim or target over others? He asked on one. And then another one was, after committing the crime, what were you thinking and feeling? And those are direct quotes. I had to write them down. What were you thinking or feeling? That is, sounds, I mean, like he was fishing for that information to know what he should feel like or what he would feel like, you know? So, I mean, at the time, his classmates and professors might have just seen it as him being studious, right? He just wants to learn about criminology. He's fascinated with it. A lot of people are. And then they become FBI agents, psychologists, all sorts of things, right? All sorts of things. Behavioral analysis people, you know, all kinds of stuff. So that's probably what it looks like on the outside. You know, a student pushing the limits, whatever. But if you look back on it now, it's kind of hard not to see something really sinister in those Reddit posts for sure. You know, are you looking for a how-to guide before you do it? Have you committed a crime like this before? Or is this a question of a how-to guide now? I mean, you got to ask yourself, going back and looking at that kind of stuff, you know, was he studying predators for a thesis, or was he studying it to become one? Red flag, you know? And then his academic obsession became first and maybe the most telling of all of it, a red flag, because he wasn't just a student of crime, he was a connoisseur of sorts, right? Classmates in his PhD program said some really interesting things about Bryan Kohberger. I wrote down some direct quotes from some of the things that the classmates had to say. Let's see. Hold on. And that's another thing. He started the PhD program at Washington State just a few months before the murders. Just a few months. Okay. Said he was smart, but came off as socially detached and awkward. One fellow grad student, Ben Roberts, said that Coberger always had to be the smartest person in the room, that he would find the most complicated way to explain something to make sure you knew how much he knew. Now, I know someone just like that. Some of you know people or persons exactly like that. And what I will say is, they're not always the smartest people in the room. They're not. To have to explain something simple, very complicated, like, or use big words all the time, it's a red flag. It's a red flag because that person feels inferior. And to feel superior over everyone else, they have to make other people think they're smarter than they are. And that's what they do to make themselves seem like they're smarter than they are. There's a lot of people like that, unfortunately. So then, and it is in a way, if you think about it, it's intelligence arrogance, right? Like, I'm smarter than everyone on planet Earth, even when they're not. Even when they're wrong, they won't ever admit that they were wrong. Ever. They'll just skate right past it and be like, yeah, but also, or, oh, I might have been wrong on that one little part, but the whole rest of it, they find a way to sort of skate out of it in a way. Especially when someone calls them on it and they're like, wait, that's not true, nor can that be true because of X, Y, or Z. Drawing lines where they don't exist, sort of thing, you know? Hey, it's a need to show like dominance over other people. It's psychology 101. I mean, I don't know how many of you have ever got into psychology or studied psychology, but it's part of like psychology 101. It's a need to show sort of dominance over other people. It's a trait that often comes up, funny enough, with violent offenders. Shocker, ain't it? Shocker, ain't it? I mean, to me, my nephew has autism, and I would not expect that my nephew being autistic, it would be okay to kill, murder, or maim. He should have the death penalty just like any other person that would. That's my, obviously, opinion, because, you know, my nephew is not someone who's going to go out and maim and murder someone. But if that had happened, I don't think his autism should be used as a reason to why he shouldn't get the death penalty. Their brains don't work the same way. We know that. But you still know murdering people is wrong, right? I just don't think that should be used as an excuse. Now, we don't have the death penalty here, right? We don't have that in my state. So I don't often run into having to deal with death penalty issues other than the marathon bombing, which that was a federal crime. So he could have gotten the death penalty. That was the only time I've sort of run into that, dealing with it in my own state, because we don't have that here. And the one thing that irks me about the death penalty itself is, if you put someone to death that is innocent, you can never undo that. You can never undo that. Also, I find it to be the coward's way out, the easy way out. They don't have to live in jail for the rest of their lives, miserable, behind four walls, never to leave a cell. They just get to go, done, gone. I think they should live miserable for the rest of their lives behind the wall in a prison. That's what I think. So I think the death penalty is an easy way to let them off, in my opinion. But I mean, everybody feels differently about it. Some people are like, an eye for an eye. But at the same time, I know of at least 2 death penalty cases. They go way back, like really, really old, like before I was even born, old cases that those people could have been innocent but were put to death. And you can never reverse that. And I would never want someone to be put to death who could have been innocent. That would bother the hell out of me. And also some states still do where you get to pick how you're going to die. And I think working in a prison, they get the COs, some of them, to do, like, they give blanks to some guns and one person will get the actual kill shot. And some of the states, no one knows who actually made the kill shot because nobody gets told which person has a blank in the rifle and which person has. But still, all of those COs now have to live with the fact that they shot and killed someone, even if it was part of the death penalty. And that, the shooting, the squad. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yep. It's sad, but sociopaths are different. They also don't have that sort of empathy or sympathy chip. They don't have that sort of kindness and love. It doesn't exist in them. Just doesn't, Is it? Oh, because here's the thing. A lot of death penalty cases now, they're not putting people to death because we're not getting the medications. The medications are not approved by the FDA anymore. And something from where we were buying them or something about them was or they were expired, whatever it was. There was some issue with the medications that we don't get them anymore. So now some states have found they have to come up with a different option, right? A different option. There have been some botched killings with some of these new medications that they've tried using. So they've had to go back to like firing squad in other ways to do death penalty when they put someone to death. It's sad. Yeah, public hangings. That's what we had way back in the day. That was the same thing, right? It is wild. It is wild. It's absolutely wild. It was something with the drugs. Yeah, something about them being expired and something about the botched cases. I forget. But there was something specific about the drugs themselves, the death penalty, like the drugs they use to kill you and put you to sleep, that wasn't doing it. People were like suffering, they were claiming, so they stopped in a lot of states, and now we can't get them. Wherever we were buying them, whatever country or whatever, we can't get them or don't get them anymore. They're not approved, whatever the case may be. It's something with those drugs specifically. So now they've gone back to things like firing squads, gas chambers, things of that nature, which are, a little morbid, if you ask me. Yeah, it failed a couple times. And also they tried to use new drugs recently, and they botched 2. That the person didn't die for like a really long time, and they were like convulsing, all sorts of stuff. There was something, I'll have to look specifically into what it was for you guys, but there was a specific reason with the drugs themselves on why. So now they've gone back to things like firing squad. I'm actually glad we don't have the death penalty here because we don't have to worry about trying to find an alternative to that, But let's see here. What else did I write down? All right. We're all true crime people, right? We can appreciate what goes into a true crime case and all the work that has to be done. Investigators, MEs, psychologists, all sorts of people involved in a case and trying to solve it. And sometimes even unorthodox things. People like the people who do the underwater searches for people who have been missing for a really long time. They've brought in a lot of families the remains of their loved ones back, And so it's just really sad. But studying criminology in itself is not some crazy thing, right? It doesn't inherently make somebody crazy or psychotic. It's not a red flag on its own. Thousands of people do it without becoming criminals. Amazing, right? I know. But when you mix it with someone like Bryan Kohberger's personality, That's where you get the red flags. It creates a really disturbing profile. He wasn't just interested in the why of it all, of the crime specifically, right? He seemed personally invested. That's the part that creeps me out, There's a lot of speculation as to what he was using his academic knowledge for specifically. If it was to plan crimes or if he had been planning a murder the entire time. Or murders the entire time. We don't know. Was he learning how to cover his tracks? How to degrade things like DNA and get rid of it quickly? Tips and tricks of the trade so that he could get away with it? Maybe. It's probably a good probability that he was. I mean, we have some recent reports that reveal his search history, and that included searches for Ted Bundy, okay, which we just talked about. Like, what the hell? Why? I mean, a lot of us have searched Ted Bundy to sort of deep dive into that case. You go back to it because it's been so long. And I watched something on Ted Bundy. I think it was on Hulu not that long ago. But he reportedly saw Ted Bundy as the perfect killing machine. That's what he called him, the perfect killing machine. He searched for Bundy before the murders and again in the days after the murders, which is strange. Why? Like, why? Why after? You know what I mean? I mean, it does cross a very serious line from academic curiosity, right, into personal, deeply troubling behavior and a fascination. A troubling fascination, not just a normal fascination. It suggests that Bryan Kohberger was studying crime for like a dress rehearsal, basically, instead of for school, instead of to be an FBI agent or, a criminologist, a behavioral analysis, do something along those lines. Indiana still, I know there are some states that are still using the like expired drugs. So maybe Indiana is one of them, using lethal injections. Yeah, it was definitely abnormal. I agree with you, Scorpio. It was an abnormal fascination. It was not a normal fascination. And we know now because of the red flags, His mom wrote an article against the death penalty for Ted Bundy. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. I mean, he had a history of strange behavior. Okay, long before he was PhD student with a dark academic interest, he was a high school kid, just like every other high school kid, except he was trying to fit in. His former classmates, I wrote that down too. So his former classmates paint a complicated picture of the kid. He is full of social awkwardness, bullying, and a huge physical and psychological transformation that left a lot of people feeling a little irked, unsettled, creepy, The early years, I think, give us a little bit of crucial information as to personal red flags on him and how he got worse, In his earlier high school years, Coberger reportedly was overweight and an easy target for bullies. I oftentimes will find some of the meanest of the bunch were bullied or abused by family or friends. So it doesn't shock me that he was bullied for his weight. Classmates remember him being shy and an outcast. Those were the quotes. And then during his senior year, something changed dramatically that year. He lost about 100 pounds, like a lot. 100 pounds. That's a lot to lose in 1 year. So that you're going to look like a totally different person, So he lost about the 100 pounds, and people say that his personality seemed to just flip with that 100-pound loss. Like something just clicked, completely clicked. And maybe that's where he went to like straight sinister. I don't know. He has a former friend, Dominique Clark, that said she didn't even recognize him. The change was so stark. She said he almost looked sickly. Like the weight loss had become an unhealthy obsession. Shocker. Shocker. So with the physical change also, right, became a behavioral change with him. The kid who was once bullied allegedly became the bully now. See how that just flip-flopped right on over? He was bullied for his weight, lost 100 pounds, became a bully. Red flag there. What's going on? Just completely changed his personality of sorts, you know? Yeah, control. Lots of control issues with some of these people. Look at Karen and her control issues. We've seen it. Serious, serious control issues, right? So he became a bully. Another friend, Casey, I'm going to bungle this name, Arntz. It's Arntz. Arntz. I think you say it that way. Arntz claimed that after losing weight, Kohberger became aggressive, even with his friends. Her brother, who was also friends with him, said Kohberger bullied him and would get physically aggressive sometimes, putting him in chokeholds. Another former classmate called him socially awkward, especially around girls, and said if a girl turned him down, he couldn't handle it and would come off as a creep. Ooh. No, thank you. No, thank you. 7+ stone weight loss. It's a lot of weight loss. That's a lot. It's 100 pounds is a lot. That's a lot. So the aggression was paired up with another dark problem of his, a battle with drug addiction. Now, I know all too well how that works. And at some points, you just don't even care. You don't care if you live or die at that point because you're just so blah, right? You just don't care. So in the depths of an addiction, you can go to a really dark place in your mind. And I don't know if you're going to go to such a dark place that you're willing to, murder 4 college kids in the middle of the early morning hours / nighttime, but you definitely go to a dark place in your mind for sure. So he had a drug addiction. Friends from that period of his life say he started using heroin and became more and more self-destructive and isolated. He was in a downward spiral and reportedly got clean eventually, but the person who came out the other side was different again. So his personality changed again. Makes you wonder, makes you wonder. Hey, Laura. But hey. So friends describe his almost robotic, hyper-focused, and even more detached than before. These are huge red flags. This isn't just a teenager sort of finding himself. These are huge, volatile shifts, not small, easy shifts. These are huge, volatile shifts in your personality and the way that you're behaving and acting, So I think each one of these kind of pushed him further and further and further into being a psycho, The stories from his past paint a pretty good picture of a pretty troubled young kid. Looks like he never got out of that habit, even in college and all the times that he, associates, masters, he was an outcast. He was very awkward and even aggressive with women in his college years. So I don't know. He had a massive physical transformation, which was strange, and fought a really severe drug addiction. Each one of those is a major life event. It could change your brain chemistry. It's a pattern, though, of instability and escalating aggression, I'd say, because he started off as the kid who was bullied, lost the weight, started bullying, had the addiction, became more aggressive, even towards women, even more so towards women. So now we're escalating this sort of behavior, right? And the psyche of it all. So, these red flags, I don't know what his parents did or didn't do, but it doesn't look like much. Bryan Kohberger's troubling behaviors didn't just stay, though, in his personal life. It spilled over into his academic and professional worlds, as we know now, right? Yeah, he was very hateful, angry towards women. We know that now. it's just sad. You know, it's a terrifying picture of what goes wrong with a human being. With a human being, what goes wrong and how, like, from where it starts to where it ends. You know, it's really, really sad. These red flags were clearly missed or mishandled at best. Whereas parents getting him psychology, putting him with a psych doctor and saying, like, here, he's got some clearly deep-seated issues, because addiction boils down to mental health, really. If you don't deal with the thing that's making you use drugs or alcohol to begin with, you're bound to just keep repeating it over and over again until you actually really deal with it. And I don't just mean saying it out loud. Actually really delve in deep down and start dealing with it. I don't see that was done here with Bryan Kohberger. Doesn't seem like they did that they dealt with this with him. You know, it's unfortunate, but it happened, you know. Seems like the system failed him at every turn. If he seek the very small times that he did seek any sort of help, you know, they were sort of kept in like separate silos so they didn't intermingle. And the problem is they did end up intermingling, you know, unfortunately. People in charge did have chances to step in and they didn't, hence the system failing, you know, like they had chances to step in and help him and nobody did. And that's a thing that I think has happened more often than not, especially when it comes to like bullying, where there isn't much stepping in going, you say zero tolerance on bullying in some of these schools, except the problem is when it happens, there is no zero tolerance. There's no such thing. The school will say, okay, we'll handle it, we'll deal with it. But then what do they actually do? Nothing. They don't do anything. So that's not zero tolerance. That's a joke. And bullying can really fuck a kid up. Kids can be really mean. Really mean. And as parents, it's our job to make sure that our kid's not going to school being a bully or being mean to other kids and thinking that they're better than and thinking that they can look down on other people. It's our job to not act that way ourselves, and in turn showing our children what it's like to be a good human, to not look down on other people or bully other people because of where they live, how much money they make, what their parents do for a living. None of those things. I teach my children, if there's a kid sitting alone, to maybe go sit down with that kid. You could possibly make a new friend for life. Go sit with him or her. Don't let the person sit by themselves. Would you want to sit by yourself? Right? Don't let them sit by themselves. Maybe they're shy. Maybe they're socially awkward. Maybe they just need a friend, right? You could be that friend. And that's what I teach my children, because I'll be damned if my children are the goddamn bully. That's for sure. I'll be damned. My children will not ever be the bully. And so help them, God, if they do. And thankfully, two of them, as grown, were not ever the bully. Never got a single call about my kid doing any sort of bullying or bad behavior like that. Thank God. 2 down, 1 to go. 2 down, 1 to go on that. Please hold, people. Don't mind my husband, everyone. Just being a bozo. Does make me laugh, though. It's a good thing, especially 11 years later. So let's get down to the nitty gritty here. He had kind of a sexist attitude, right? Oh, I know, Christina. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I mean, it's awful. It's awful. It's terrible. It's terrible. It should never happen. You know, I'm sorry. It's awful. Right? I mean, what are you doing, sir? We're live. Leave me alone. He's outside the door singing right now. You can't hear him? He's literally singing. All right. So let's see. I wrote down when the problems really started ramping up at Washington State University. Okay. In the fall of 2022. It started ramping up at Washington State University. He was only there for a few months. This is before the murders took place. Okay. So he was only there for a few months, but in that very short period of time, his behavior was pretty alarming enough for them to have multiple meetings with faculty. So, I mean, my kids are, You know what I'll say about that is kids are freaking terrorists, and it's for cruel and unusual punishment. That's what they do to us as parents. It's cruel and unusual punishment. They're like little terrorists. They are. When my daughter tries to tell me she wants something, I tell her no. And, when they do that, my little is still in her her little stages. And so when she starts pouting or throwing a fit, oh, but I want it. I'm like, I don't negotiate with terrorists. Sorry, kid. There's no negotiation happening here. I said no. The word is no. And yes, mine also still sleeps in my bed. Can you tell me how to get my older one out, please? My 7-year-old. I'd appreciate that. Get her out of my bed. Get her out. Please hold 1 second. All right, sorry guys. Yeah, it's just my sister. Just my sister. Sorry, now I gotta pull my notes. God damn it. I just had my notes out. She's like screwing shit up here. Like, God damn it, ma'am. I am attempting to read from my notes the important stuff. Like, leave me alone. Okay. I mean, these people are sick. They're sick. They're sick people. Right? Especially when they're toddlers, especially. Right? They're like great with everyone else, just not not their own parents, right? That's just awful. What is wrong with these people? Y'all need to leave Christina alone. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Christina. That's just awful. That is just awful. That's terrible. That is really terrible. I don't know why, why they feel the need. They really need to get a life, like a serious life. They don't seem to understand when it's time to be an adult. I think that they allow their ridiculousness to consume them. They need to get a life, literally. Need a life, need a life. Oops. Hold on a second, guys. Had my notes out. Looking up my notes. It's not nice. Not nice at all. Okay. I have them. Ugh. By the way, speaking of which, folks, ugh. Yeah, you know what? Move out of this. Don't move social. Move out of the social if you're anywhere near them. Move to the South Coast. You'll be away from all of those psychotic psychos. Your own family, well, that's even worse. Oh, that's just terrible. Bleh, bleh, bleh. Gross. Gross. All right. So let's see here. Okay, so I actually decided, let's see if I can do it this time. Let's see if I can do it this time. See if it'll allow me to do it. Let me show you guys. Boop. And then let's see. I don't either. I don't understand adults acting that way either. I made free Chloe cups. I kid you not. This poor Chloe. You know what I'm saying? We made Don't Be Shy shirts. We did and hats because that's what Hank said. Crop tops. We even made crop tops. There was that option. So I made them. Well, on the website. So only size viewers will see them in products in current video section. Okay. So I got the merch store up and running, my peoples. Okay. So I got it up and running with a couple things, just a couple things, by the way, just a couple. So there's not a ton right now on it, but you should be able to at least see. Let's see if I can pin this one. Boop. See if it'll work. Aha. It is. All right. Perfect. So now you have the option from the stream itself to get merch, at least a few things of merch that I spent time making the other day. So that's fun. Ooh, that sounds so good. Like, so good. Well, that's the thing, right, Casey? That's the thing. That's the thing. We'll find out soon enough. Sad, but true. Sad, but true. You know, it will, because there's going to be depositions, Christina, like depositions of questions that she can't plead the fifth on, you know? Oh, pastrami and onion rolls. That sounds so good. Why don't I live closer to you, Jess? You're always making something that I don't think of. My house is just stuck on the same like 10 or 12 things that I make over and over. That sounds so good, though. I'm not going to lie. Ooh, firehouse. We don't have a firehouse around here. I've had it before, but we don't have one around here. I wish we did, but that sounds so good. So it should be fixed by now. See if it's fixed now, Jesse. See if you can see it. Right? Exactly. What time should we be there for dinner? I know. I'm sorry. Well, we should all technically be hungry because, okay, scratch that. Some of us should be hungry because at least in the U.S., we're within a 3-hour time difference of each other. So it's anywhere from almost 4 p.m. to almost 7. Yeah, I want one here too. I wish we had a firehouse up here. You know, I wish, but we don't. I wish we did. All right. Let me get back to my notes here. Let me get back to my notes. Yes, it has. It has, for sure. Well, you know what? You're gonna have to bring the kids over for the 4th of July. We'll throw everything on the grill and call it a day. You know what I'm saying? All right. So, where was I? Where was I? My notes here. Oh, I have a dono. Let me read it. First one on the stream. That was very, very nice. Let me see if I can actually get it to pop up on my screen. Y'all made me hungry too, right? Pizza. No, never mind. That was for my husband. Okay, let's see. See, every time I go and I have to look at something, this is what happens, right? It gets all clustery here. I'm trying to look and make sure I'm not missing nothing. Okay, hold on. You know, it's one thing when you have, Jesus Christ. All right. Anybody else getting these spam emails lately on like it's an invoice that you like bought something electronic that you didn't buy? or 4 of some things that you didn't buy. They want you to like click on it. Like, no, dude, we're not that dumb. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. We're not that stupid. It can never be easy, right? Never be easy, you know? Oh my God, that's awful. That's terrible. That's crazy. 58's fairly young. It's fairly young, 58. Now my adopted dad died in his 40s, early 40s, very young, you know. Like it's that is horrible. Nothing can ever be easy, Jess. It's just not the way it works, my friend. All right. Okay, so, like I said, he had quite a few run-ins with the administration at Washington University following, again, he was only there a couple months before the murders happened, and he had quite a few. So it says that he had multiple meetings with faculty. Reports detailed a timeline of growing concerns. By late September 2022, there were already complaints about his conduct, right? He was allegedly rude and condescending to women, shocker, graded female students harsher than male students, and had a generally sexist attitude. Ouch. Okay. So his behavior got so bad, he had like a direct confrontation with a professor. That's how bad it got. Okay. He became what they say, quote, feisty and belligerent. That's what they say. Feisty and belligerent. And then the situation became so concerning that by early November-ish, just days before the murders, the faculty put him on a, quote, improvement plan. Less than 2 weeks before the crime. So he met with faculty specifically to talk about the mounting complaints. And then on December 19th, after the murders, but before he was arrested, he was officially fired from that job of teaching, being a teaching assistant. Like, what? Because of his poor performance and conduct. Yeah, belligerent means he was acting a fool. So let that sink in for a second, right? A PhD student in criminology is acting so disturbingly they fired him from his assistant teaching job. Mind you, also towards faculty. So to the students, then faculty. No, of course. I mean, they're definitely not supposed to know about it unless he told them about it. But he had quite a few meetings ahead of time about his conduct. So, I mean, if he saw it as like something that had to do with his Asperger's, I'd feel like maybe he would have said something, But hey. So that's another thing. This is all while police just a few miles away are looking for who did this. Like who did this, right? Right. Something triggered. I mean, it seemed like it was getting worse, right? Worse and worse and worse. And we know that he followed at least one of them online. I think it was Kaylee. It was either Kaylee or Madison. I think it was Kaylee though. Which might have been his target to begin with, and everybody else was just there. Or, no, they'd put him in jail, not a facility. They wouldn't put him in they'd put him. So for instance, the jail that I worked at is a jail for the criminally insane. So you're sentenced, but it's technically a, quote, hospital jail. So it's to give the people who are criminally insane treatment while they're in jail because they're insane. So that's the sort of place that they would put him in, unfortunately. One female student even reported him to faculty for being confrontational and for following her to her car on November 2nd. So it was just days before this happened. And apparently that wasn't his only brush with people in charge. Years earlier than that, in 2014, he had a minor run-in with the law for stealing his sister's phone. It was a misdemeanor theft charge, and it doesn't obviously scream future murderer, but it's still, as things were getting worse for him over time, that was his first like formal interaction with law enforcement at that point. And weirdly, he worked as like a part-time security officer for a time for his old school district. Strange, but it's a tidbit of information. I mean, each of those moments put together, though, you know, the theft, the student complaints, the formal discipline, the being belligerent with the faculty, they're all a data point. They're all a point. The losing all of the weight and then changing the way he acted, went from being bullied to being the bully, you know, getting more and more aggressive with women. These are all red flags, red flag, red flag, red flag, you know, flying up, boop, 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 the addiction, all of those things. And sad, but no one did anything. No institution. I mean, high school administration, the police. It was only the university that stepped in and fired him. But this was, again, after the murders were committed, even though he was being disciplined before. But there's no evidence that those pieces obviously were ever connected at all. So like, hey, these are red flags about him, you know? No single agency had a full picture of him. You got to think about it. It's a man with a history of aggression, a sexist attitude. Come on. And yeah, the alarming conduct in the university. That's the stuff that sticks out to me the most, is the calling the women names in his university as he was this teacher, grading them poorly and giving the men good grades, like following that girl to her car on the 2nd of November. I mean, I feel like maybe she would have been the first victim if she hadn't gotten away. Okay. Sorry. Hubby needed something. Let's see here. Every time I get interrupted, my notes go down to the bottom again. And I was almost done with them. Almost done. But if he brings my purse to me instead of getting something out of it, I'm going to kill him, everyone. And he did what I knew he was going to do instead of just getting it himself. I knew he would. He's looking at me at the door, and I'm like, go get it out of my purse. What does he do? Brings the never ever. He won't go and get it himself ever. He won't get anything. A hairpin, a deodorant, nothing. Just always hands it to me. You know? Yeah, I mean, just get it if I tell you to get it, man. Jeez, duh. Oh, sorry, Jess. I love you though. Those help. All right. All right, let's see. I do believe, though, that the system isn't built to connect these kinds of dots. That's kind of half the problem, right? Is they're not meant to connect these dots all around for these kinds of behaviors that lead to things like what happened. I mean, these red flags were in different zip codes. And again, there's no way that our institutions are set up to connect them. You know, that's a failure of our system, unfortunately. And they weren't just like waving. They were literally sending smoke signals. But when they're in different zip codes and no one's looking at the whole map, it's kind of a problem. So, I mean, it's pretty clear the signs were scattered across years and different institutions, but Might seem like something that could have been handled, but ultimately he could have done this anyway, no matter what anybody, did or didn't do on his behalf. I am sweating. I'm sorry. I'd like to know, like, what is the one main thing that they could have intervened on, maybe gotten him some help, and do you think he would have done it anyway? Do you think it would have just been someone else prolonged this behavior? Like, that's what gets to me, is the mind of these people. Is there help for them, or is the help just going to prolong the inevitable of the psychotic mind? I don't know. I can't answer that, The digital and physical evidence found after the murders revealed something definitely calculated, in my opinion. Very sinister, but super calculated. Okay. He was allegedly engaged in a long period of surveillance against his future victims, a massive red flag that went obviously completely unseen until it was obviously too late. The most damning evidence comes straight from his cell phone, though. According to the probable cause affidavit, the cell tower shows Kohberger's phone was near the King Road home on at least 12 different occasions before the night of the murders. And these weren't just him just like casually driving by. Almost all of them happened late at night or in the very early morning hours. That paints a picture of someone stalking that house, like a pretty chilling portrait of someone who could possibly be waiting to see people's comings and goings. What time do they come? What time do they go? Like, this is some stalker type shit. This is methodical stuff. This is, you're casing your target at that point, It wasn't random. It's a pattern. That's the part that gets to me. That many times, I know, they're pings, obviously, but it's creepy as hell. On the night of the murders, though, the phone's activity tells an even darker story. Investigators say his phone was in Pullman, where he lived, around 2:42 a.m. Then it went dark. Then it went completely dark. It stopped reporting to the network, a move authorities believe was a deliberate attempt to hide his location during the attack. Phone didn't ping a tower again until 4:48 a.m. when it connected to a cell tower near Moscow, right after the estimated time of the murders. This, wasn't just a case of not having an alibi. It's what they call consciousness of guilt, usually. And it's active effort to hide your movements during the exact window of time where the crime was committed. That's consciousness of guilt. Why would you need to put your stuff on airplane mode or leave it behind? Coberger. Right? He was moon gazing. It could have been airplane mode. We could have left it behind. Airplane mode is what strikes me as probably the most probable. I don't think he had a Faraday box or Faraday bag. So airplane mode, probably, The digital surveillance was backed up by physical surveillance. There are reports that Coberger had visited the Mad Greek restaurant where two of the victims, Xana and Madison Mogan, worked. Investigators also allegedly found photos of at least one of the female victims on Coberger's phone, which suggests a targeted obsession that went way beyond a general interest in the people living in that goddamn house. Like, you don't have a general interest of your neighbors and you got pictures of them on your phone. Like, that's stalker shit. That's creepy shit. That's weird shit. Visiting the workplace of Xana and Madison. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just a little sketch, if you ask me. A little bit sketchy, And then the damn car. The mother effing car, okay? Security cameras in the neighborhood caught a white Hyundai Elantra, the same make and model that Coberger owned, driving by the victim's house multiple times right before the attack. The vehicle made several passes before making a final pass at 4:04 a.m. So several passes, and then again at 4:04 a.m. Like, what in the actual just before the murders are thought to have happened, by the way. Okay. At around 4:20, I know, funny irony, right? Hey, Jack. Around 4:20, the same car was seen speeding away from the area. Police eventually put out an alert for the white Elantra. Obviously, we know quite a bit later. But the delay in connecting the car to him gave him time to drive to his damn parents' house, right? Across the country. All the way to Pennsylvania, right? I agree with you, Jack. I agree with you. I agree, my friend. I know, right? So incognito, a white car. So insane to me, you know? The surveillance patterns are definitely the most glaring of the red flags because they scream that he premeditated it, that this was planned out, right? You're driving by their houses, you're going to these places. Premeditation, my friends, premeditation. This isn't a crime of passion or a random act of violence. This is premeditated murder, you know? That's what it suggests, at least the evidence in this case. He clearly picked his targets. He was casing the joint, you know? Planned the attack at some point and surveilled the home for months. I mean, he allegedly, at least, took steps to cover his digital tracks. You know, when you piece them all together, it kind of destroys any idea that this was like spontaneous or this clearly was premeditated and planned, you know, carried out by somebody who had been watching these people, stalking these people, driving by, going to their workplaces, seeing what time they came and went. And maybe even a couple of those times thinking about doing it, but then left. I mean, early morning hours, late night like that. What made him go that night and actually do this, you know? Weird. It's a tragedy, of course. And that's the thing, is it left a trail that you could only follow afterwards. Because again, our system is not set up to see these red flags before they happen or any way to catch them before they happen. It's only after the tragedy happens that this kind of stuff can be connected together, unfortunately. You know, when you lay out the timeline of Coberger's life, the red flags aren't subtle, clearly, at that point. You know, if you look at from the time he was, you know, bullied all the way up until the time he became a bully, and glaringly got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse over the years. His behavior, his mental status, it all got worse and worse and worse. You know, we see his fascination with murder seems to twist into like some personal obsession with wanting to get away with a murder or cover a murder or get, you know, cover up after himself, like studying methods of people like Ted Bundy, who was, by the way, extremely violent. Ted Bundy's murders were graphic and gross and overkill. Like bad. So bad. You know? I mean, we do have institutional failures, but that's not something that, you know, is super. We see that all the time. You know, university that disciplined him for his hostile and sexist behavior, but was unaware of like the darker currents of him running underneath. And it's like, how do you vet these people? How do you stop this from happening until after it happens? That's the shitty part, you know? Sad. The most chilling flag of all is the alleged calculated surveillance. Repeated late night drives to and from that area. Sad. It's really sad. It's not the action of somebody who just snapped right away. It's planned. Absolutely planned. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020. We all know that. Unfortunately, it's easy to connect the dots after something happens. It's how do you fix it before something like this happens with someone like Bryan Kohberger? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anyone knows the answer to that, unfortunately. You know, he's a socially awkward student with a minor theft charge, but an obsession with murder and serial killers. You know, he was clearly actively moving towards being violent. But how do you know, this isn't the movie Minority Report. We don't have cognitive people with, things to show us the screen of things that might happen to stop them ahead of time, unfortunately. Although that was a very good movie. Hi, Frank. I mean, of course he still denies it. They're going to admit it, of course, but, they have plenty of evidence, including the sheath where his touch DNA is on it. It was bought from his Amazon account. The weirdest part of this case is that they didn't find any of the DNA in his car, in his apartment. Although, of course, studying criminology, maybe he was very careful. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Little stragglers. I mean, to me, I think anybody who likes true crime definitely has a fascination with the psychology of it all, Dexter, the psychology of it all, and wanting to know what is in their brains. How do you get to a point where you're so sick and twisted that you'll hurt another human being and you'll take a life or lives? Never mind 4 really young college students just starting their lives. They were doing, by all accounts, everything that they should be doing, making their way through college. One of them was just moving out. I think she already had moved out, and then she was just back to visit and stay there for the night. What the saddest part for me was seeing the reports and then the blood that was on the outside of the house that you could see dripping outside of the house, and all of their cars being there, until their family members were allowed to take their vehicles. It was really sad. And I really didn't like that they tore the house down, because I thought it was such a weird setup in that house that it definitely would have been beneficial to do a jury view. 100% would have been beneficial to do a jury view in that house, but they tore it down. So the university was given the house by the owner of the house after the murders happened, and then the university decided they were going to tear it down. I'm shocked that the DA's office allowed them to. That's still evidence. They don't have to release it. They did, though. I mean, yes, they have a 3D model, blah, 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 but it's still not the same as walking through it yourself, going through it as a juror and seeing how he could have gotten from A to B and how he could have gotten out, it's just not the same. But, right? Gonna blame it on the little dog, the poor dog. I think it was like a little dog too, right? Like one of the, poor thing. Yeah, she was back to visit. She wasn't even living there at the time. She had moved most of her or all of her stuff out, Yeah, and Ethan didn't live there. He's just spending the night with his girlfriend, Really sad. I mean, that's part of what intrigues me, right? Is the part of the mind, I don't think there's anything there now. I mean, I do know that they had like a memorial set up when the house was still there. I have no idea what's there currently, if there's anything. As far as I know, it's nothing. They just knocked the house down and it's nothing. So, I mean, it's sad because there's so many families involved in all of this. And fun fact, Ethan was a twin. Ethan had a twin. I can't imagine. Twins have that very special connection that no one else can have. And I feel for all their families, but I think Steve, Kaylee's dad, has been such a fierce advocate for all of them, really. Or was it triplet? Is it triplet? I thought it was twin. Is it triplet? Maybe it's triplet. I thought it was twin, but maybe it's triplet. Nonetheless, they have a bond that no one else is going to have like it. They did. They knocked the house down. They knocked it down. They didn't use it for evidence. They just tore it down. Some of the families were against it. Triplet. Okay. Some of the families were against the house being knocked down. Some of them wanted it knocked down. And unfortunately they did knock it down, but they didn't use it for evidence. They knocked it down. They just demolished it. Sad. But dad, Kaylee's dad, yeah, he makes me cry. Makes me cry too. He's a fierce advocate for all of them, but definitely Kaylee and Madison because Madison was like family to them, you know, and I'd expect that to be that way, you know. That's how my best friend was, family, like a sister, you know. And if this was a scenario, I would do the same thing. I would be that fierce advocate for them if they were my loved ones as well. So, you know, I get it. I mean, Steve has done a phenomenal job. You know, the cops, and I've known this from knowing my friend that went missing and then my friend's mom, that, you know, the cops don't let you in on a whole lot of their investigation during this. So you have to imagine these loved ones aren't being really told much at all about what's happening in the investigation. And I can imagine being in Steve's shoes and being one of those parents that's like, no, I need to know what the hell happened to my child. And if that means that I got to investigate myself, so effing be it. So be it. And, you know, he's hired a private investigator, and I cannot imagine, you know, I would move heaven and earth to get the answers that I need. And I think Steve has done that, and he's done that in a respectful way, but also doing it on behalf of these 4 beautiful souls that deserve answers. They deserve answers. And I think that they couldn't have asked for a better advocate than Steve and his wife and his other kids. You know, I've seen them quite a few times, and I have great respect for them and for their pain, because this is not something that's going to go away anytime soon. And the trial's coming, jury selection's coming. They've moved the trial this time. In this case, they have moved the trial to Boise. So they moved it out of the county it was in, of course, because, well, a jury can be tainted, right? It has had a lot of press, and the judge did the smart thing and moved it out of the county to a different county. Shocker, huh? Imagine that. Also, the judge put a gag order in the very beginning. But now we have the DoorDash driver, right? The DoorDash driver that says that she pulled right next to Bryan Kohberger that night, and she dropped off his Hannah's DoorDash meal at right before 4 o'clock, right before 4 a.m. And then she parked right next to Bryan Kohberger. If she's an eyewitness to him being there, that's going to be a huge problem. I mean, I know his team is trying to get certain pieces of evidence thrown out, and the judge is seeing sort of this ridiculous. So at one point they had sent out, and I think this was by design, they had sent out these questionnaires, his defense did. And of course, if you send out questionnaires to people in that county, you're telling them about stuff they wouldn't have known. So if you write a questionnaire and go, do you know who Bryan Kohberger is? Do you know who this is? And do you know what this is? Now anybody who didn't know is now going to go look. So, I mean, I think they did that on purpose, to be honest, so that they could say like, oh, well, now it's definitely tainted. We made an oopsie, but now it's tainted, so we need it moved. You know? Whatever. It is. You know, it is. You know, that's a damn good question. I don't have an answer to that. I don't know why they did it. Because the owner of the house, again, gave it to the university after the murders. The person who owned it literally handed it over to the university. The university decided to tear it down. Some of the families did not want it torn down because to them, that's evidence, right? Until a trial happens and a resolution is resolved, that's evidence. There could still be evidence in there that no one knows about to go back and look for until something comes out. So, you know, I wouldn't have knocked it down. I thought it was a horrible idea. Some of the families thought it was a horrible idea, but ultimately, because the house was cleared back to the university by the DA's office and the police as not being evidence anymore, they tore it down. They just demolished it. I mean, I wouldn't have. I think that was a bad move, you know? Oh, I know. Well, you have to remember, so of the surviving roommates, just like in the Karen Reed case, the surviving roommates who were downstairs have been threatened, harassed, defamed, called names. Conspiracy theories have been brought into all of this. People are questioning why it took her so long to call the police. We don't know why. We have no idea why. We have no clue why. We probably never will know why. Until a trial happens, and then maybe we'll find out. But it's not for us to know, right? Why so many hours passed. We have no idea. No clue. But to blame the surviving roommates like they had something to do with anything when that's clearly not the case, that broke my heart. That hurt my heart. Hold on 1 second, guys. Sorry, guys. My sister stopped by. She needed something. She needed some pull-ups. Okay. Well, that's the thing, right? They're teenagers. They're college kids. They're not supposed to know. Also, when you rent a house in your college years and have multiple roommates, people are coming in and out, right? You have a ton of in and out, and you're not going to question every single person. You're not going to be like, hey, you, what are you doing in my house? Are you with one of my roommates? You're going to assume that those people are there with your roommates, right? You're going to assume a lot of drinking, a lot of parties, like people going in and out, in and out. When I was young, I had a lot of friends that would just show up at my house. I didn't have roommates. I had my own place. By the time I was 17 and a half, I had my own place. But nonetheless, my friends would come over because I was the only 17 and a half, 18-year-old with their own place. So all of my friends would always come to my house. If I had had roommates, yeah, there would be my roommates would have had friends over. I mean, my friends felt like roommates at that point. They like literally moved into my extra bedroom and just like stayed there. But I mean, it's just crazy to me that we're questioning why she didn't X, Y, or Z. I would have assumed up until I woke up, like, hey, and the reason why she called other people instead of the police. Well, you don't want to get your friends in trouble. Were they doing ecstasy? Were they smoking weed? Is that why they were making so much noise last night? You know, what were they doing? I don't know. I feel a little irky about it, but I'm going to call my friends to have them check just so I don't get my other friends. If I call the cops and my friends get caught with like something like weed or something, I'm ruining their lives, their careers over something stupid. So instead, I call my friends to come over and check. I literally think that that explains it pretty well about why they called friends over first before the police were called. It's really a simple explanation. I don't think it's something crazy, you know, like the sheriff. It's so funny. Ugh, I'm well asleep before then now. In my college days, I could probably stay up for days, but not no more. Oh, kittens. So cute. Oh, I can't stand it. For those of you that live in Connecticut or close to Connecticut, I need you to email me because I have a specific question that I'm not going to ask here about something in that area. So I'd appreciate it if those of you who live near and in Connecticut will send me an email so I can ask you a question. Right? Give me some of that energy. I love some of that energy. So we are going back to our normal like 9:30 in the morning streams tomorrow morning. It's just been hectic around here, especially since school's over. So I've just been getting into like my new normal schedule. And my little won't be home tomorrow. She'll be with my sister. They're going somewhere. So it'll just be me. And so we're going to go back to early morning 9:30 streams. Oh, you know, that when I first saw that footage of the food truck, I thought maybe it could have been someone from there following them too. Originally. That hoodie guy stuck out to me too. Wasn't just you, my friend. Was not just you. But I mean, I'm going to be testing the waters on doing some shorts and some long form videos, things of that nature. Again, I did make merchandise, guys. It is officially there. So if you go to my YouTube channel itself, we officially have, you know, cups and tank tops and t-shirts and some hats and water bottles and stuff like that. We have some Don't Be Shy. We have the classic I'm a McAlbert because, well, Karen, in my opinion, is guilty and got away with murder. So if I have to be called a McAlbert, then I'm a McAlbert. Absolutely. I'm all the McAlberts. All of them. Wrap me up in a pretty little bow. I'm all of them. Want to accuse people of being conspiracies. Cool. I'm a McAlbert. Say it very proudly. I'm a McAlbert. If they wanted to use it as a bad thing, I'm now turning it around into something that shows support for these people. So sure, I'm definitely a McAlbert. So we have those. We have the free Chloe shirts and the mugs because poor Chloe, you know, is trying to live her life in Virginia and or Vermont, sorry, and they won't leave her alone, you know. And then we have the Don't Be Shy standard Hank saying, you know, but I was working on a OJ Simpson Reed shirt, but I'm not sure it'll let me. Good question. Yeah, no, I only get dollars. Again, that's the way it works with merchandise. Unless I make it myself, you have to kind of go through a store and I only get a certain amount and it's not even half of what the cost is of it. So they set the prices and then it tells you how much. So for instance, most of them are around, except for the die cut stickers. We do have stickers, except for the die cut stickers. Everything is between like $5 and $9 that I receive. So it's not a lot, but it is something towards merchandise. But we do have the good old options of Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut. That goes straight to me. YouTube doesn't get any of that. I have to pay taxes on it, but that's about that. Then we do have super chats, super stickers. Make sure you get your membership to the channel, or hopefully somebody will gift some. I get new ones on the 1st to gift you guys. So that's another week away, but I'll get 10 that I get to give to you guys on the 1st. So hopefully one of y'all or 10 of y'all will get those and you can join our members only streams that we're going to be doing on Thursday nights. We did one the other night and we'll do another on Thursdays, right? Poor Chloe. But we do have Revolut, which is fun for people who are out of country, because I'm told from other people who use it, Trisha uses it once in a while for me, and she says there's no fees, which is nice. Sometimes the exchange rates are killer, but it lets me exchange it, which is nice. Yes, Karen is that's a good one. That's a good one. TMZ ran with the dancing. Oh, I can't. Why would they? Like, do better, TMZ. Do better. Do better, TMZ. Just freaking do better. Seriously. Like, I just don't understand the level of hate and anger it takes to do something like that. You're standing outside of a victim's family's home with children that live there that have lost 3 adults in their lives. What the fuck is wrong with you? I can't believe it. I fucking can't believe it. Let me see. Hold on. Oh, it says supporters harass O'Keefe family. Woman bus moves outside home. John O'Keefe's family says they've continued to be harassed by Karen Reed supporters ever since her acquittal last week on secondary murder and manslaughter while under the influence, TMZ can reveal. Sources close to the O'Keefe family tell TMZ Reed supporters have been driving by the family's home in Canton, where John's parents and the niece and nephew he was raising still live, snapping photos, leaving things at the door, and in one case, even busting out a celebratory dance. As you can see, the woman was caught on security footage dancing in the street right outside the O'Keefe's home early Monday morning. Bold move, to say the least. The family just wants to be left alone. But since everyone knows where they live, it's been nonstop. People are showing up, dropping stuff at their door, and making a tough situation even worse. We're told the family's been calling the cops, but folks ignoring the no trespassing signs are usually long gone by the time police show up. We're told a neighbor of the O'Keefes filed a police report today regarding the dancing woman. We reached out to Canton PD to confirm, but so far no word back. As you know, Karen Reed was acquitted Wednesday on major charges while being found guilty of OUI. Now she's on probation for a year. It's trash. Absolute trash. Trashy trash behavior. You're leaving things at the O'Keefe's house, unless it's flowers and a card saying, we're really sorry for your loss, and if you need anything, reach out. You're fucking deplorable human beings. All of you that are doing that shit. Deplorable. Absolutely fucking deplorable. You should be ashamed of yourselves. I don't know how the fuck you look at yourselves in the face in the mirror. I don't know how you sleep at night. It's really, really disgusting. You know? They have no trespassing signs right on the fence out front. It's no, everyone can see them. You pull down the street, it's right there, right? You can see the no trespassing signs are everywhere. You cannot miss them. You know? It's just disgusting. It's vile. Like, I really believe in karma, and I really believe that karma will come and bite these people hard, pretty hard, especially some of the most vile of them. But what the fuck is actually wrong with you? What is actually wrong with you that you think that is normal behavior? You literally cannot miss the no trespassing signs out front of their house. They're huge and bright on purpose so that idiots don't keep trespassing onto their property. You know? I mean, no, but I probably will if I go look. I haven't looked. I haven't been on X today at all. That's probably why I didn't see it. But we will. I'm sure they know who it is, you know? I mean, do they not have anybody? I think people egg them on by being like, oh, it's totally fine and okay to do that. No, it's not totally fine and okay. So if your family, loved one, friend, cousin, sister, mother, brother, father, child gets murdered, we can dance outside your house. Just asking for a friend if that's okay. I mean, what kind of vile human being do you have to be to harass the O'Keefes? What did they do except lose a loved one? Ask yourself, why do you hate the O'Keefes so much? You don't. You don't even have an answer for that. You want to know why you hate the O'Keefes so much? Because the sewer turtle called them names and told you to. If you don't seem to realize that that's literally what cult mentality is, then I don't know what to tell you, because that is the epitome of it right there. Someone told you to hate them and called them names, so you in turn did the same thing. How sad of a person do you have to be to do that kind of stuff? Literally, right? Why blur her face? Like, shame her. Let it be there. She put it there in public. You know? What you get, you'll get it back. You'll get it back 100%. It's like, these are the people, Karen. These are the people. The ones you probably wouldn't piss on to put out if they were on fire. It's all for you. These are all your people, Karen. All your people. All the classless dredges of society that harass a victim's family. Deplorable. Well, that's the thing. Her reputation is very important to her. Well, if it was so important to her, like she says, maybe she should make a statement to tell her goon squad to go back to Space Jam. All right? Go back to Planet Mob, cult mentality, and stay there. We don't want you. We do not claim you here on the earth. Go back to the goon squad, please. You know? I mean, it is disturbed. It's very disturbed. It's disturbing behavior. You know? It's insane to me. What level of crazy do you have to be to harass a victim's family members, especially elderly parents and children? What the hell is actually wrong with you? To feel good about doing something like that, like it's a good thing to do? Like, I'm sorry. Did your mother drop you on your head as a baby? To me, it's simply they want a pat on the back from the blogger, from the sewer turtle. So they do the things that he has taught them to do. Be vile, mean, awful humans, and you'll get a pat on the back from the sewer turtle if you do so. Sad. It's sad. It's really freaking sad. Talk about red flags, because that was the focus of this stream. Talk about red flags. How much more do you need in a piece of shit like that? How much? I don't think many more. You know what I'm saying? Not many more. That's for sure. All them red flags. Screaming, literally screaming. I love you, R. Thank you so much. R sends $22 and says, here's all the money. She has a Cricut. I have a Cricut too. I really should just make my own merch. I just don't have the time. I don't have the time, God damn it. I should just make them myself. But thank you. I appreciate you, my friend. I appreciate you. I'm going to check real quick and make sure there's nothing else to thank y'all for here. So we are going back to the 9:30 in the morning tomorrow. So remember that, so we can all be here. Okay, hold on. Yeah, we're going back to our 9:30 in the morning stream. So make sure that you all have that on your schedule. I am going to be tinkering with the times a little bit here and there, you know? I think Karma has a nice dish served nice and cold for him, Dougie. I do believe that dish will be served sooner than later. You know what I'm saying? It's what I'm feeling like when it comes to him. It's what I'm feeling like. Well, that's it, right? They want to feel like they're part of something. Newsflash, you can be part of something that's actually not toxic and mob mentality. There are plenty of communities that you can be a part of that are not mob mentalities. Imagine that don't say, hey, go and do these horrible, awful, deplorable, disgusting things. Those exist. There are actual content creators that also will take the time out to acknowledge that you exist and actually even maybe have meetups and stuff and not be looking in a completely different direction while you're talking to them. Imagine that. You know? He doesn't care about these people. It's really sad, but that's the reality. The things he says about the people that follow him and watch him behind closed doors in private are deplorable and disgusting. And I literally can't wait for them to see it. We all told them. I mean, hate to say I told you so, but told you so. Doesn't give a shit about any of them. Doesn't care. He does not care that they pay his bills. He does not care that they help feed, pay his child support and feed him. He does not care. He now feels entitled to demand that you give it to him. For him saying that he's not going to read questions for $1 the other day, for a bunch of them, that's insane to me. It's a machine. It's a machine. It makes vinyl. So you can make shirts, hats, shoes. I make like pot holders. And you can do heat vinyl or regular vinyl, which you can put on like cups. You can also do heat vinyl on cups, but it depends. So it's with a C. That's Cricut with a C. And it's a machine. It's a machine that cuts out the design that you make, and then you weed out the extra pieces, and then you can use that to put, pictures, words on anything, really. Literally, you can make signs yourself. You can do shirts, hats. You can put things on sneakers. You can make wall decals. You can make car decals. I got one for Christmas a couple of years ago. I absolutely love my Cricut, although I don't recommend the Cricut vinyl. there's other vinyl that's actually works better. Yes, that's how you spell it. Exactly. Cricut. That's how you spell it. So that is what a Cricut machine is. It's a machine. Mine's blue. They didn't have pink ones in stock. Believe me, my husband tried. But it's about, I'd say about this big. It kind of looks like a printer in a way, just more sleek. And it cuts out the vinyl. You're welcome. You're totally welcome. They're actually really fun. If you can get one, I say get one. You can put images, words, all sorts of stuff. They're fun. They're definitely fun. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up. I will be back at 9:30 in the morning for you guys. Definitely, if you get a chance, go look at the merchandise. There's even stickers. I made a couple different stickers. I'm not done with it. It's just the most basic right now. I'm looking for a better option because you can link, more than one store that you make. There was a lot of options for different merch, but some of the stuff that they used to have, they don't have anymore, which was kind of like, what? Like, where's the pet stuff? So I'm trying to link another one that has like, pet clothes and things of that nature, because a lot of you have pets. So don't you worry. I'm working on it. I am working on it. Oh, I love it. I love it. My air fryer is not pink, but it's also like a double door gourmet, so they don't have them in colors, unfortunately. But I want a KitchenAid so bad. My sister has a pink KitchenAid mixer, and I'm like, oh, I need that thing. I need that thing. I need it. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Oh, the big ones are even better if you have like a giant heat press. The big, like I have a heat press. Cricut has heat presses. I have the big one. It's like this, but I'm talking about the like whole giant t-shirt ones. You'll dance if it happens. Well, listen, karma, once again, served cold, coming to a sewer turtle near you. You have to remember, they probably didn't do a lot of stuff during the Karen Read case because they didn't want to rile up the mob even more. I was buffering. I had to fix that. Sorry. Yeah, my internet did just die for a second. I don't know why. I just all of a sudden I've not had that problem since, I don't know what just happened. It just died, but I just disconnected and reconnected. So I don't know. Yes, I got stickers. I made stickers. So we have a little bit of merch at least. So help yourselves, obviously, if you want to. But we're going to be messing around a little with the schedule. We're going to still do 9:30 from now. Thursdays will be our member only streams. And if there are specific cases that you guys want to talk about, let me know. We'll do some. I'm also going to mess with a little bit of long form videos. Going to mess with a little bit of it and a couple shorts. I'm going to dabble a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Because Coberger's trial doesn't start until, jury selection is the 30th. So we won't be, streaming the trial itself until August. But there are a couple other cases coming in the meantime, but nothing right this very minute. So we have a bunch of other cases that we're going to be covering in the meantime. And I think it's important to definitely cover things that aren't always covered too. Because if we can put eyes and ears on things that aren't covered often or haven't been heard of in a really long time, like maybe we can help in a cold case or a missing person's case. That's important. It's important to me. It's important to anybody who has a missing loved one that those stories are told and those cases are solved at some point. I have a missing friend whose remains still have not been brought home. I would love for any, content creator to do his story. I know not many have at all. Most people don't even know about his story existing, So I'm going to be dibbling and dabbling with a few things with the channel, because I mean, we gotta grow. That's the only way we maintain is we gotta grow this community a little, my friends. Yeah, I mean, I know that case pretty well. It's very, very sad. That case is very, very, very sad. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm covering the cases no matter what. He knows nothing about the Clancy case. The most he knows about the Walsh case is that he's accused of murdering his wife. That's it. He doesn't know anything about it. So, I mean, if he gets chosen for the jury, he would be disclosing that he knows that much about the Brian Walsh case and that he doesn't know anything about the Clancy case at all. So if they picked him for the jury, yeah, I would still cover it because he wouldn't be allowed to tell me anything anyway until the trial's over. I mean, after the trial would be over, he'd be allowed to tell us about deliberations and stuff. That'd be kind of cool. That would be a cool interview for him to tell us about like what happened inside that room of deliberations. I mean, whatever he's being called for jury duty for, it is got to be a very serious case because it's Superior Court. So yeah. Yeah, I know there are a bunch of those too. I've been looking into those. Me too, Dougie. You're not the only one, my friend. You're not the only one. Believe you when I say it's been a little rough. You know, I've talked to a lot of people in the last few days, but the best thing we can do is keep advocating, keep fighting, keep covering it when things happen and when it's time, not let it fade away and be forgotten, but at the same time also move forward, right? We can do both, you know? I know, right? I didn't get a call for jury duty. He did. But no, wouldn't be a conflict for me to. I was already going to cover the cases, whether he's called to jury duty or not. He wouldn't be able to tell us anything, so it wouldn't matter, you know. As you guys notice, he's not here. You know what I mean? He's usually at work when I do my streams, and he might pop in on his way out of work, or if him and his boss come back and bring me a coffee once in a blue moon, or something of that nature, or when he gets home. But you know, he doesn't follow all of mine. I mean, he doesn't want to be in a jury. I mean, if they pick him, they pick him, but he doesn't want to be in a jury. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to. It's Plymouth County that he's being called to, so it's not Norfolk. So it could be the Clancy case. Wait a second. Is Hingham Plymouth County or Norfolk County? Is Hingham Norfolk County? Is Hingham in Norfolk County? I thought that was Plymouth County too. Maybe it is Norfolk County. You know, it's sad because it's like right on the line. Norfolk County is huge. Like when I say it's huge, I say that's probably why they didn't move Karen's case out of Norfolk County, because it's huge, the county itself. It's many cities and towns. But it's Plymouth County is being called to. So the pay definitely does suck. I think it's like $50 a day or something like that. But it's not a conflict because he wouldn't be able to tell us anything that happens anyway. And I would have been covering it one way or another, you know? I wouldn't want to unless I knew nothing about anything about it at all. I mean, like he knows the most he knows about the Walsh case is that he was accused of killing his wife. So, I mean, he doesn't really know very much about that either. But I wouldn't want to be in something that I knew about because you have to have a bias at that point. Like you have to at least, if you've learned anything about it other than, oh, that person was accused of killing someone. Like maybe at that point you can say like, okay, I don't really know, but you know, you're going to tell me the evidence and I'm going to decide. But if you know more than just like that basic information, I think that everyone has a preconceived bias at that point, right? So if I was called for jury duty, you'd have to give me a case of something I know nothing about at all. Like start from scratch, you know, because I feel like that's the way it should have to go for juries. I don't think it works if you don't do it that way, you know? I know, right? Is that not crazy to you too? Like they sit, you know? I know, right? Imagine. Just say a bunch of crazy stuff. They'll pick you.
Yeah, I mean, he's the same way. If he gets picked, he gets picked. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I mean, he's not going to be able to tell us anything until the trial's over anyway. But at least when it's over, he could totally tell us about deliberations, and that would be kind of cool. It's Plymouth County. That's a damn good question. I don't freaking know. I thought it was Hingham. Or did they move from Hingham, right? Move from Hingham to Cohasset. It was that they had rented a house in Hingham and moved to Cohasset after, right? I believe. Duxbury was the Clancy case. Cohasset's Norfolk. Yeah, Duxbury's Plymouth. I knew that one, but I thought maybe Hingham would be Plymouth too, just because of where it sits. The lines that they have don't make sense to me. Some of them should be Plymouth County, at least in a Massachusetts person's thinking. You know what I mean? Yeah, they moved, right? So that's what happened. They moved from Hingham to Cohasset, I believe. They rented a house in Hingham at one point. That house actually ended up having a fire right as this was all happening with the Walsh case. So they thought that might have been connected to this, to the Walsh case. It ended up that it wasn't connected. It was a house that they had rented like 6 months prior or something, and then they moved. But originally, they thought that the house that had a fire had something to do with her going missing. It was crazy at the time. I mean, listen, they found a lot of blood. They found a hacksaw. They have the receipts from him going into these places and buying these things and all of the searches he did on all the various. I mean, it's bad. It's real bad. Is it? That's what it was? The Cohasset? Whatever it was the house that it wasn't the house that they currently lived in. It was the house that they had rented before the one they lived in. That's the one that caught fire. I mean, clearly the universe was like, hey, did he have a boat? No, they think he used the dumpster. Well, we know he used the dumpster near his mother's house. And the craziest part was he was on like GPS monitoring for a different case, but was allowed to he was like stay at home sort of like dad. So he was allowed to leave the house to like get the kids, go grocery shop, whatever. And so he used the dumpster near his mother's apartment complex. And that's where they found some of the evidence. So they think that he might have used other dumpsters in the area. It's pretty hard. Once a body or a person, even pieces of them, are dumped to a landfill, it's a real long shot to try to find it. You're almost never going to. In Hull. Oh, okay, maybe that's what it was. Oh boy, that's woof. That's the crazy. Stole everything out of the house. I know that he stole from his dad, right? Or was selling fake like Picasso or something like that. Jerusalem Road goes all the way from Cohasset into Hingham and Hull. You guys, the houses on Jerusalem Road are some of the most beautiful, big, giant mansions you'll probably ever see, at least in Massachusetts. It's one of those roads that everyone knows the name of that road because they know what the houses look like on that road. I used to live off of like that Jerusalem Road is like a side road, and I used to live on the main road that goes in Hingham, not in Hull. Maybe that's what it was, right? It's just, I know that they had rented it. Well, at least that's what the news claimed, that they had rented it at one point or lived there as an address at one point. But again, that's mainstream media. We don't actually know if they were actually just saying things, or I don't know if they found actual reports of things and looked information up. Because nowadays, mainstream media just apparently says whatever. It's cool to just say whatever nowadays for them. I've forever been tainted by the things that the mainstream media clearly have lied about when it comes to the case. And I try not to get all of my information from mainstream media. I try to dig deeper than that. Documents, other kinds of deep dive searches. I can't with mainstream media. There's way too much that they focus on, and they don't focus on the things that should be focused on. and I just don't trust them. So there's that. You know, I know I need to go make food myself because I'm so hungry. And it's like, exactly, my kitchen is so hot right now. I have crank out windows in my kitchen, so I can't even put an air conditioner in there if I wanted to. I need to put just one big like metal fan in there because how else would I, you know what I mean? Yeah, his father was an art collector. That's what it was. That's what it was. And when he died, he left everything to a cousin. His own father didn't leave him anything. Well, you know what? There's clearly a reason for that. I don't blame his dad. You know, sucks. But hey, it is what it is. But that is a case that we'll be covering. And then the Clancy case is a tough one. That one stirs some damn emotions. It's about, children are involved in that one, and it is never, I think it stirs more my emotions because, obviously I have children, but I have one with a terminal illness. And so I think that's where it stirs my emotions, is children died. And that's a hard case. That's a really hard case just to cover in general, to talk about in general. But I do think it's important to talk about things that need to be talked about. They said she was something like 13 medications. Postpartum isn't a joke. It is not a joke. And there are various forms of it, just from what they call the baby blues, just being a little sad, all the way up to you could harm yourself or the child or children. Yeah, I mean, I have CPTSD, so I feel you. But it's a hard case because of all of the stuff involved in it. And I feel awful for Patrick Clancy, the husband. He didn't ask for any of this. And by all accounts, he was a great dad and husband and attentive. And it's just a very, very sad story, the Lindsay Clancy case. And Kevin Reddington is her attorney, as far as I know, or was her attorney. But hey, I think the husband actually hired the attorney for him, as far as I know. Whatever it is, they're trying to get Patrick Clancy's statements to the press, his interviews and stuff. So, I'm sure there was a lady that did the same thing with 4 out of her 5. I don't know who, but I'm sure there was. No, that was here in Mass. It wasn't New Hampshire. That was here. That was here in Massachusetts. Yep. She sent him out to go get dinner. Yeah, that was here. Oh, I was here. Sad, but that was here. And again, that was it was Duxbury. So it's about, so Marshfield's right next door to Duxbury. When my parents got married, we lived in Marshfield for a couple of years when I was a kid. So I was in fourth and fifth grade. And so we lived right next door to Duxbury. We lived in Marshfield. And my husband used to work in Pembroke, which is in that same area. So it's very sad because that whole entire area is well known as a very uppity, more higher class, upper class, middle, upper class area to live in. And it's the South Shore. It is the South Shore, but it is Massachusetts, unfortunately. It's just, that's a hard case because it involves children and it's sad. The Walsh case is hard too because they had children. What are those children? Now those children have lost both their parents as well. So, it's a sad thing. People forget that there are a lot of people involved when it comes to this, and families that get torn apart. The children are the ones ultimately that suffer, right? So it's sad, but they are important to cover at the same time because you want to give it a human touch, right? You want to make sure that you cover the case, but in a respectful way, in a way that you're not causing the family or victims any further pain or anguish. There's a thing that I might go over during another stream. I keep forgetting about it, but it was made by a victim's family, and it's sort of like a how-to for content creators to be able to cover true crime, but in a way that doesn't harm people. And I think it was well thought out and well written, and I think a lot more people need to see it. I don't believe that people, making 30, 60 grand a month on YouTube will take that into account, but I hope that they will. Because whether they're making 30 or 60 or more grand a month on YouTube, they're still hurting people. And I don't care how much money you make, you have to live with yourself knowing that you're doing that. I think it's our responsibility as content creators to do better, to think about the people that we could be harming and be careful about the things that we say and the information that we give, and to check it and double check it and triple check it the best we can. And no one's perfect. Of course, mistakes will be made. That's human error. No one's perfect, but we should still be, diligent. Oh, yeah. Okay. I get where you're going with that. There was, with the Walsh case, he was verbally and emotionally, I don't know about physically. He was verbally and emotionally abusive. The wife had complained to other people about it. She was thinking about filing for divorce and taking the kids and moving to New York. So, in the Clancy case, there was not TV. Yeah, short fuse. Yeah, that's in the record. You definitely spouted out if I'm going to kill you. But how many times have you probably said that to someone you love? Like, I'm going to freaking kill you. Coercive control. That's right. And it's under the definition of abuse, because her exes did not want to be involved. And if they're not willing to talk to law enforcement and put it on record, then that's that. I don't blame them. They had families to protect. They had families that they needed to protect from this mob harassment. And they saw what was happening. It didn't matter if you were an innocent bystander or innocent witness or not. If you said something the mob didn't like about Karen, you and your family got harassed into oblivion, and they wanted no part of it. And I cannot blame them. I think I'll wait until it's a little bit of time has passed before I tell those stories. But, I think what they have to say just goes to show that Karen herself is short fused. And I don't think this is the last we'll hear of her doing something she shouldn't have done with her short fuse. Let's put it that way. That's sad. I mean, I don't know how, if I was a child of a parent that killed the other parent, how I would reconcile that either. But at the same time, I have seen children of parents get up on the stand and be like, I don't want to be here. My mom or dad clearly killed my mom or dad, but I still love them. But what they did was wrong and they need to be held accountable. Yeah, there was previous Karen snapping, and doing shit that was pretty shitty and I'd even say criminal. So she is a walking red flag. You're right. And I don't have doubt that she'll do something again. Even if it's something smaller, I have no doubt that she'll do something, especially because of her track record. It speaks volumes, unfortunately. It's unfortunate, but it's true, All right, guys, I love your faces. Do me a favor and you can check out the merch that I made. Let me know what additions to make. If there are certain, words or certain things you want to see with the Twisted logo on it, or, other sayings, you let me know. I'll make them up for sure. But for now, there's a bunch of stuff in the store. It's connected to, it's Teesprings. It's connected to the channel. So if you go onto my main page on YouTube, you'll see the stuff there. If you're hitting my replay crew, and you guys are so important as well, I appreciate you guys leaving comments as you're my replay crew. You can also donate to the channel one of these ways. If you do so when I'm not live anymore, I will read it on the next one. I do not read people's regular personal government names because safety reasons. So I usually just read first name, And there could be 1,000 of you with the same first name, or if it's like an odd first name that's easily identifiable, I just say anonymous because I don't want anybody identified for any reason. And nobody can see anyway I can see them myself. No one else has access to them to see them besides me. So I will read them on the next one, of course. I love your stinking faces. There is the link, of course, pinned in the chat. All the information on how to donate and all that stuff is also in the description of the video. I will be back 9:30 in the morning. It wasn't available on replay. I'll have to look into that. The members chat was not available on replay. Could watch a show but not see the chat. Weird. I'm going to make it public anyway. I was keeping it members only for, you keep it members only for a few days or a week, and then you open it to the public. It's just a good way for members only to get, the first taste of a little bit of certain things, all right. I love your stinking faces. Those of you who are in Connecticut, I need you to email me. I have a very serious question about something that involves in Connecticut, or if you live near Connecticut and you know Connecticut well. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you guys at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. And in the meantime, everybody having a fantastic, amazing night. Make some pastrami because that's what Jess got. I might just make pastrami too because now I want pastrami on an onion roll.